Southampton Old Cemetery is a cemetery located in Southampton, England. The cemetery has had various titles including the Cemetery by the Common, Hill Lane Cemetery, and is currently known as Southampton Old Cemetery. An Act of Parliament was required in 1843 to acquire the land from Southampton Common. It covers an area of 27 acres and the total number of burials is estimated at 116,800. Currently there are 6 to 8 burials a year to existing family plots. History. On the 9th of November 1841, Southampton Town Council resolved that the town clerk be directed to give notice of an application to Parliament at the next session for establishing a cemetery, a burial ground on part of Southampton Common. The town council approached John Claudius Loudon. He was a well-known landscaper, designer of arboretums and cemeteries, including Histon Road Cemetery at Cambridge and Bath Abbey Cemetery. Loudon, normally based in London, had been staying on the Isle of Wight whilst his wife was writing a book. The damp sea air had a debilitating effect on his health and he moved to take temporary lodgings in Southampton. Southampton Town Council had no previous experience of laying out a cemetery and was pleased that Loudon was conveniently available. They paid him £37 for his services, but decided not to use his proposed layout. The Bishop of Winchester was not willing to concede that the proposed Anglican chapel would adjoin a non-conformist chapel. Competition. As was customary in the planning of early cemeteries, the council held a competition and asked for suggested layouts to replace the one made by Loudon. The design of William Rogers, a local nurseryman and councillor, was accepted and he was awarded the contract. The cemetery opened in May 1846 as a 10 acres site. In the 1860s expanded by 5 acres and in the 1880s the third phase with a feature of an avenue of yew trees was added. Opening the cemetery was opened on the 7th of May 1846 when the Bishop of Winchester consecrated part of the grounds. A section was left unconsecrated for the dissenters, while another part was provided for the Hebrew community. In 1856, the Roman Catholics were given ground within the cemetery for the use. Famous Incumbents. The cemetery has 45 headstones associated with the Titanic, although no bodies were returned to Southampton. The exiled Argentine politician, General Roses, was initially buried in Southampton Old Cemetery until his body was exhumed in 1989 and repatriated to the La Recoleta Cemetery in Argentina. His tomb remains as a memorial. Edward Askew, Southern Victorian comedy actor, famous as Lord Dundreary in the play Our American Cousin, is buried here. The headstone of the grave of the aviation pioneer, squadron leader Edwin Moon, was made from the propeller of the aircraft in which he was killed in 1920. Moon is one of 118 identified casualties in the cemetery whose graves are registered and maintained by the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, all from World War I except 15 from World War II. A war graves plot contains the graves of 21 Belgian servicemen. Charles Rawdon Maclean, alias John Ross, friend of King Shaka and an opponent of slavery, died on board a ship bound for Southampton and was buried in a pauper's grave. On the 2nd of May 2009, the grave was marked with a headstone in a ceremony attended by representatives of his hometown, Fraserburgh, and of the Zulu Nation. Charlie Barth, the 3 times winner of the America's Cup, is also buried in the cemetery. There is also a memorial to the RMS Rhone, wrecked off the coast of Salt Island in the British Virgin Islands on the 29th of October 1867 during a hurricane with the loss of over 120 lives. The memorial was badly damaged by vandals in October 2011. The Robert Pearce family grave is marked by a sculpture depicting the figures of faith, hope and charity, surmounted by a draped urn. The memorial was sculpted by Richard Cockle Lucas from Chilworth and is English Heritage listed. Grade 2. Listed buildings. Most of the buildings and some memorials in the cemetery are Grade 2 listed structures. Former Jewish Mortuary Chapel, Church of England Mortuary Chapel, Allen Memorial, Lodge, Gate Pearce to Eastern Gate, Pearce Memorial, Wall fronting Hill Lane, Gates and Gate Pearce. Nonconformist Mortuary Chapel, Gate Pearce to Northwestern Gate. Ecology. The cemetery's ecology is managed by the wildlife team from Southampton City Council in conjunction with Friends of Southampton Old Cemetery, a voluntary group who also take guided tours and assist families to maintain graves. Gallery.